What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pinfalls and Playbooks podcast, episode number 35. As always, I'm your host, Bias Kabir, alongside my co-host, Farden Khan. And this week, guys, we're talking about wrestling. It's going straight into WrestleMania season. We have Raw going off, SmackDown's going off. Big moves and big changes happen on both shows we're going to talk about. In terms of sports, the NBA is high action right now. And we have a lot of things to touch upon on football as well. A lot of off-season moves, as well as the World Baseball Classic. And plus, we have our sideline heel takes this week. So let's get straight into this week's episode. All right, guys. First, we're going to start off with our wrestling recap. And first up is our Raw recap. So Raw started off the show with Adam Pearce coming out, trying to call out Seth Rollins and try to get the situation alleviated, which ended up happening with a bunch of these masked men coming out right now and doing some weird type of magic trickery. It looked so stupid on TV.
I was shocked at how many people they got. You got probably future WWE superstars in that match, man. I get the concept of it, but it was just weird to watch. Like, I just felt uncomfortable watching it.
It doesn't look like something that's going to last for a while. I hope Seth doesn't keep doing this masked man thing. But ultimately, it led to LA Knight coming out, trying to attack the Logan Paul and Austin Theory, who did come out trying to confront Seth Rollins, but he got away by doing the mask trick thing.
They all got into the ring, ran around for a little bit, and they just disappeared.
It just looked stupid, which led to LA Knight and the Usos coming out, and it pretty much, that was the end of that segment. And next up, we pretty much had Bayley winning the gauntlet match. She's going to be challenging AJ Lee, so it looks like that match is going to be happening. You know, those two, they probably missed each other when AJ kind of, went away for a while, and then Bayley and all those other new crew came in, so it gives her a chance to wrestle with them. I think that match is happening on Raw this week. Next up, we had pretty much the first Intercontinental defense for Penta. He was going to face originally OG Grande Americano, but Danhausen came out and put a curse on him, which led to El Grande Americano coming out and taking out that victory. But he didn't win. Obviously, Penta retains the title. And next up, it led to probably one of the other big segments of the show was finally Judgment Day confronting Finn Balor. So this ultimately led to Judgment Day officially turning on Finn Balor, and now presumably it looks like Finn Balor's face, obviously after getting attacked by Judgment Day. But it's obviously setting up that match for WrestleMania. I don't know how they're going to do it, if there's going to be a stipulation or if it's going to be a one-on-one match. It's going to be interesting to see how they pretty much progress that story forward, because a lot of people are talking about Finn Balor bringing back the demon character, but why does he really need to bring it back against Dominic Mysterio? We'll see what the reasons is if he needs to.
I don't think so, but then again, it brings more entertainment to that match.
Show, and to that, exactly, because obviously a lot of people are going to want to see Demon Balor. If it's just a one-on-one match, you want to have some type of advantage to that match.
I'm sure there's going to be backstage segments or promos from Finn Balor saying oh, you guys caused this. You're going to see a different side of me.
Right.
And that's probably what's going to lead to the return of the demon.
Right. Next up, we had Obafemi versus Rusev. So this is, I guess you could basically call this Obafemi's first real match on the main roster against someone that's actually credible.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. That match was literally 2 minutes. Obafemi actually muscled up Rusev a bunch of times, which looked actually crazy. I don't know, because Rusev is not a small person. So he's throwing around Rusev like nothing. So it makes you think, dude, how strong is this dude? And it's ultimately leading to what people think he's going to be possibly answering Brock Lesnar's challenge. And I could see it, especially if they keep building him like this.
Well, he hasn't been on Raw for some time now, Brock Lesnar. I would say almost 3 weeks now.
He's back on Monday.
He's going to be back on Monday?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming now that the course is set, I don't see why not Obafemi comes out. Everybody's been clamoring for it. I would love to see that matchup happen. It definitely beats out that random match that Brock Lesnar had in WrestleMania 39 against Omos. So this would definitely be a step up, a huge step up for that match.
Yeah, for sure. But even though surprisingly, that match wasn't that bad either with Omos.
Yeah.
And that was just a credit to Brock Lesnar putting in actual work. And let's see if he's going to actually put in work with Obafemi and make it a competitive match. But that is the match that people are calling for at this point. Lastly, we pretty much had the big segment of the show, which was CM Punk coming out, addressing the Roman Reigns issues and the stuff, which ultimately we had a story building around where the Usos were talking backstage about how they can't let whatever Punk said slide about their dead uncle.
Yeah.
So it led to the Usos coming back out, which kind of a throwback back to the Bloodline Usos. They were right then and there, and it looked like it was back to the OG Usos back in 2022. And it looked great, honestly.
It was really
Jimmy
good.
and Jay, they looked like they were on point. Jay looked like a different character again. It looked like he was playing that old right-hand man, Jay Uso, which was great to see on TV again. And they were kind of pressuring Punk, but Punk was keeping his poise and pretty much not apologizing. He's not going to apologize for that. He said you guys should apologize
to Roman
Reigns for what Roman Reigns should apologize to them for what he did.
Yeah.
Pretty much bringing up the fact that Roman Reigns is the one that caused the Usos to fall out, everything that happened.
Yeah,
because
he
of
was
him.
saying how he would prefer Roman Reigns being here asking for the apology
Right.
than sending his young boys, which is obviously his younger cousins
Right.
at this point, or his nephews if you from the family tree.
And it's crazy because it's like, yeah, like the Usos, they were obviously saying like they don't care. Like it doesn't matter to them about, you know, what Roman Reigns did at this point. And it's obvious because like they were just trying to stand up for their family at this point.
Yeah,
At the end of the
yeah.
day, that's all they care about. And it's like, it kind of shows to prove no matter what, they care about the family. And it ultimately led to Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso pretty much not punking out, no pun intended,
Yeah.
and pretty much laid out. I think Jimmy Uso hit a right hand to CM Punk and put down.
He pushed the mic into Jay. Jay
Yeah.
didn't fuck with that, and that led to Jimmy and Jay both hitting him, and
Yeah.
that pretty much ended the show.
That ended the show, which brings a little bit more like, okay, what's going to happen next? Like, is this story going to keep progressing?
I've seen some rumors online circulating that Punk is somehow going to get involved with the Vision because he's still a Paul Heyman guy, and I'm sure there's not blood loss between him and Paul Heyman, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's going to lead to something with the bloodline and the Vision again in the future. Somehow Roman Reigns teaming up with Seth Rollins. I don't know. It's some crazy stuff going on. And it definitely fuels the fire to build in the storyline, for sure.
It does. I think ultimately a lot of people were talking about how if Roman Reigns wins that championship at Mania, then he's going to be back a little bit more normal time than just being freelancing.
Yeah.
And it's a possibility that could happen, especially if they want to decide to bring back the bloodline storyline about the Usos and Roman Reigns trying to get back that aura that it had back then. I get WWE's trying to go back to that probably because they feel like
That was the moneymaker.
that was a moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of talks about how them not making enough money compared to last year.
Yeah.
So if you bring back Roman full-time with the Usos full-time joining together, the bloodline storyline, let's see if they can get another life of legs.
They could do a lot of stuff with it, especially with the Vision saga, what they're going to do when Braun Breaker comes back. And Seth Rollins seems to be steering in the right direction to coming back from his injury.
Right.
So there's a lot for the future. Obviously, it hasn't been the same build-up to WrestleMania over the last couple of years. And now with these new storylines being imagined, being created, it definitely creates more interest. I'm sure people will end up coming back to the fact that the Usos are getting involved, CM Punk is calling them out, and
Right.
you know, those guys, they will always deliver a great promo for, you know, the match to be built
Yeah.
in a great way.
But it's pretty much a big show next week, which is Monday.
Yeah,
It's
tomorrow.
going to be in Austin.
Yeah.
Stone Cold is rumored to show up as well. The Roman Reigns is back. Brock Lesnar is back. So it's a star-studded show tomorrow, and we're gonna obviously see interaction between Roman Reigns and the Usos. It has to be. I guarantee that Roman Reigns is probably gonna be like, try to go up to the Usos, and be like, I appreciate what you did and all that stuff. And you could definitely see the Usos saying like, we didn't do it for you, we
Yeah.
did it for the family.
Yeah.
You know, it creates more tension, and I could see it happening. Punk's obviously gonna be on the show as well, so let's see how tomorrow's Raw plays out. But ultimately, let's go into the big part of the show, which is SmackDown. Overall, SmackDown wasn't a good show at all.
No.
It was a terrible show from the beginning. So I'm going to cover basically pretty much the key topics of what happened on SmackDown because it was 3 hours, but honestly, nothing really happened besides the last 30 minutes of the show. The show started off with Drew McIntyre and Adam Pearce. Just Drew pretty much
Nick
bitching.
Aldis.
Nick Aldis. And bitching and complaining about what happened to him. He lost the championship and all that. And he just ultimately said he's going to quit because I think Nick Aldis threatened him that, oh, you got to face Jacob Fatu. Drew McIntyre said, I'm just going to quit. And it's funny because, like, Drew McIntyre did this again already before. He always keeps quitting, and then he doesn't really quit.
He always feels like, oh, he's getting screwed over, which is true, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but this is just the same shtick that he's been doing for the last few years, and he's just got to come up with something else. Obviously, it's not going to be the last time we see Drew McIntyre, you know what I mean?
So the thing is, after Mania, he's going to be gone for a while.
Oh,
So he's
okay.
filming a movie.
Ah.
So no matter what, he's losing that match at Mania at this point, but he's going to be gone for a while. So we'll see how that plays out, but most likely he's going to lose that match when that match is being made. But next up, the other big segment we had was Jelly Roll. He was on Miz TV. He was delivering pretty good promos. Jelly Roll's a pretty good promo, honestly.
Yeah.
He's better than most people on the roster with promos. And it led to pretty much possibly The Miz now doing a feud with Jelly Roll, with Kit Wilson possibly involved.
Kit Wilson got some promo skills, that guy.
Yeah, obviously because like the crowd was behind him because of his theme song, and just in general they just like him as a person.
Yeah.
But the rumor is now that Jelly Roll most likely will be bringing in a tag team partner, and this might be a tag team match. So the rumor is now that Royce Keys,
I heard that, yeah.
who's been off of TV,
Powerhouse Hobbs, yeah.
right? They think Jelly Roll is gonna bring him in and make it. I guess that's the big spot that Royce Keys gets at Mania. So it's gonna be those two versus The Miz and Kit Wilson. I can definitely see, obviously, like Jelly Roll making some more appearances on the road to WrestleMania, especially if that match is gonna be confirmed. And you'll see for sure if it's confirmed if Jelly Roll's announced for more shows. If he's announced for more shows, you know something's happening going forward. But that's that storyline. Also, throughout the show, we had the Sami Zayn story continue to go off.
He's been like a backstage, what's the word I'm looking for? A backstage guru trying to rile up people.
Yeah, he's literally showing up for everybody's segment.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see because one, he shows up behind Cody Rhodes, and it leads to him and Cody Rhodes still having that tension. And that tension's going to happen somehow or some way.
Eventually, yeah.
Also, he has issues with Aleister Black. Aleister Black keeps showing up and saying that Sammy, he might be using the thing where it's funny because like Aleister Black might got that Karrion Kross role now. Where he's like, all right, you gotta go heel or something like that. Eventually, turn into your dark side. I think that's the storyline they're trying to do with Aleister Black, just reusing Karrion's storyline. Next, we also have him feuding with Trick Williams. And also even Randy Orton, he's giving him talk. So Sami Zayn's involved with a lot of people on this show currently right now. So I don't know what the direction is for him going forward right now into Mania. It might be Trick Williams that he might have that big match with Trick, but...
Well, we got to see what also happens with Carmelo Hayes and the U.S. title, because if they're going to set that one up, it's got to be now or like...
And the storyline with Carmelo, he was on the show as well.
But I don't think he fought.
He didn't fight. He's still continuing the storyline with Ilya Dragunov.
Yeah.
And those two want to have one more match, but the storyline is now Ilya's saying he's not ready for Carmelo yet.
Yeah, he's got to fight himself before he fights Melo.
And I'm just like, okay, you guys got to fight eventually. Listen, if those two want to run it back at Mania and Triple H want to give them 10, 15 minutes, I'm pretty sure they're going to have a great match at Mania.
It'll be a banger of a match. Yeah. It could steal the night, to be honest. Yeah. Like one of the nights for sure.
Because like obviously on SmackDown, they did it already twice.
Yeah.
So they could do it on Mania on a bigger stage. I think that can happen for sure. Next up, another match was announced for tonight was Trick Williams versus Jacob Fatu. I knew that there was not going to be any clean winner in this because obviously you don't want to really beat both of these guys clean. But this ultimately led to Drew McIntyre coming back and, costing Jacob Fatu the win right there. And it leads to Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania no matter what. That's the storyline that's going to be happening going forward.
I feel like this is going to be one of those locker room brawls next week where they both just go at it and everybody comes out.
Yeah, it's just you have to add some more substance to the storyline because the story is that Jacob Fatu wants to get after Drew McIntyre because he's the one that took him out.
Yeah.
Are we going to see eventually found footage shown that
somebody else?
That somebody did it, or was it actually Drew McIntyre this whole time? And somebody found the footage and it leaked, and now Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu, there's a reason right then and there that kind of puts a chapter to that story right there. But let's get to the main part of the show, which was the best part of the show, which was everyone was looking forward to, was Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton's contract signing. And obviously going into this, you have both faces. And you don't know exactly what the storyline is going into Mania because it's kind of boring storyline if you just have two faces face each other and they're best friends and they're buddies. And that's going to be your night one main event. Like, what are you going to do, right? It's just two buddies facing each other. But eventually, on this show, we did see a different side of what we thought was eventually going to happen. I know a lot of people wanted the other person to do it, but ultimately it led to the real legend killer, the number one heel probably in the last 10, 15 years if he
last
really
20
wanted
years.
Randy Orton came back finally as a heel, showed up on the show, and what ultimately happened was he took out Cody Rhodes and he laid a beat down on him.
Yeah, and when he was delivering his promo before he started beating him down, you saw the signs that something was like off. Like people are saying, "Oh, Cody Rhodes is gonna go heel," but obviously, he's the guy, and it kind of makes sense to have arguably the best heel within this whole century, really, if you think about it, and bringing that aspect of Randy Orton back is pretty damn good in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because obviously he's been a face for I don't know how long, 5+ years at least, right? So he's been a face for a while. You need to do a change. We all know Randy Orton loves to play a heel anyway. So this led to pretty much Randy Orton delivering a low blow to Cody Rhodes and taking him out, beating the crap out of him, blooding him up, And this is funny because this is basically Cody Rhodes' third main event going into WrestleMania, and he's been bloodied every single build-up into WrestleMania because it's, obviously you want to build that tension, and in WWE you don't see a lot of blood, so they did it on purpose for these big builds for Cody Rhodes. And Randy Orton took him out. He was beating the crap out of him. The crowd, I believe the managers and all those agents, they all came out and told Randy, go away. He did eventually.
Came back
with a steel chair and delivered a massive blow to Cody Rhodes his head was placed on top of a steel steps and just delivered a massive blow to him and just looked like a villain with blood all over his arms and sitting in the ring on the chair holding the WWE Championship.
This is an Avengers level threat. People need to understand how menacing a heel Randy Orton really is. It's impeccable in my opinion.
He's one of the best heels when it's actually working, and plus, guess what? Now we're going to see a bunch of heel promos from Randy Orton building into WrestleMania, which is going to be great to see because you're going to obviously get the storylines of what Cody Rhodes is going to come out and be like, why did Randy do this? Why'd you do this to me? All this stuff. And you could just allude back to what Randy's been talking about forever. Like, he's been eyeing that championship for the last 2 years. Just go back to that. Or it could be the storyline where there could be more behind the scenes that we don't know and that brings it up. Or it could be the simple storyline he wants championship number 15.
I also think that it might be a situation where Randy Orton's going to see Cody Rhodes and he's going to feel jealous. Like, he's been getting all of these chances and Randy Orton's been overlooked. And that's something that he probably would definitely bring up. And obviously, whatever voices he's hearing, it's going to come to a play where I feel like this is probably going to be a stipulation match, I think.
Yeah, it could be a stipulation match. It could because like, why not have a stipulation match
like
in
a
one
no
of the main
holds
events
barred or
something like, because like, the main event for night 2 is gonna be probably a regular match.
Yeah.
I think Punk and Roman are gonna have a regular match.
Yeah.
If you add a stipulation for this, I could definitely see it happening because it's gonna add more
false count anywhere,
whatever it is.
I quit, whatever it is, it'll make sense.
And I can see it happening. Now we're going into WrestleMania where the 2 main matches are now fully being built. It's great to see. Now we're gonna have 2 strong main events going into Mania. Now it just depends on how WWE builds out the rest of the card. So
we know the women's.
Right.
Yeah, we got Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv Morgan, and then Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill.
Right. Those are starting to build out, but let's see how much more fuel they can add to those matches going into Mania.
Right.
Because obviously you want to have every match going into Mania with some type of
sustenance.
Yeah, and let's see how it plays out. But WrestleMania is nearly 5 weeks away, so. It's in
a month.
Yeah, it's coming up very close. So we have a few more Raws and SmackDowns to get through, but WrestleMania season is very nearly upon us. But that wraps up our wrestling recap for this week. All right, guys. First up for our sports recap, we're going to talk about our NBA, and we're going to talk about our 2 favorite games. So I'll go first. Number 1 is probably the biggest game that people's been talking about all week is because of the huge milestone that happened. We have the Heat versus the Wizards. The Heat won this game 150 to 129. And the big thing out of this game is obviously Bam Adebayo. He beat Kobe Bryant's record of 81 points. He scored 83 points in this game. And there's obviously a lot of controversy about this because a lot of these points were scored from free throws. I think Bam had 36 out of 43 free throws. So it's crazy to think if he hit all his free throws, he would have had even more points.
He probably would have been close to Wilt's record. And he went 7 out of 22 from three-pointers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he was hitting a lot more shots, he would have beat 100 points.
He would have had like 110 at that point.
Based on the way that the game was happening. And this is the controversy where it happened because the Heat, a lot of people, obviously when players are hot, the team still continues to build and stay within their parameters of making sure that players don't gas out and don't exhaust themselves so they don't play them so much. But the Heat did the opposite. Eric Spoelstra actually went against what a lot of people say is like an unspoken rule in NBA where you kind of don't keep boosting up the scoreboard on a team where you're already beating the crap out of them. But they surrounded and got the ball to Bam Adebayo every possession at that point and made the whole game around him.
Yeah.
So for me, as watching the game and watching it, I don't have a problem with it because honestly, you're Eric Spoelstra, you're the Heat. That's your player. You know he's hot. He already has 69 points going into the 4th quarter. Why wouldn't you go for the record at that point?
Yeah.
And you build the whole game around him in the 4th quarter.
I think what the problem here is who they were facing, what the other team was doing. Because we saw they were triple teaming him in half court. Like, they wasn't even trying to get him to go to even the paint or whatever.
Right.
And all the players from the Wizards, like,
which ultimately led to them to just keep fouling.
yeah, like you're gonna give him these opportunities to get closer, but you're doing the polar opposite. At least play some defense, force him to not get the ball. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we saw Bam ended up somehow chucking up some shots, and obviously the controversy is gonna rise because they were beating them like by a lot. But yo, we have not seen something like this since obviously Kobe. In my opinion, I don't think Wilt did score 100 points. There's no damn footage of it, but there's footage of him playing basketball. But I don't know. If he scored 100 points, that's great and all. But it's crazy because we've seen 70-point games in the past. We saw Luka do it. We saw Devin Booker do it. We saw Donovan Mitchell do it. 60-point games is more evident by certain player standards of 50 points, you know. But 80 points, it's hard to do in today's NBA. Especially how, obviously, there's the talks about load management. There's talks about what the score is, and you just rest players going like, you know, whatever the time frame is in the fourth quarter, 5-6 minutes left. But they didn't do that. And this is great for basketball because it goes to show that if you want to score, by all means, go score. Do whatever it is you want to do. Have fun out there. And that's exactly what Bam Adebayo did.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. Bam, obviously, he's not known to be a scorer like that. And you're probably not going to see that ever happen again in a long time. Like,
And also the fact that the Wizards are a professional basketball team. And they were playing like this. Like, come on, you got to be better. We got to be better.
A lot, and that's another big thing is like a lot of people did just blame the Wizards for playing terrible basketball and terrible coaching.
Which they have been, but, you know, have some decency for yourselves, you know?
But that was my game one. Game two actually happened last night, which was the Lakers versus the Nuggets. Lakers won this game 127-125 in overtime. And overall, this was a good game. We had a lot of back and forth, scoring back and forth. Good defensive possessions as well in this game. We have Jokic versus Luka. Those are always good matchups when they play each other. And this led to a lot of stories in this game where obviously LeBron, he's at a different career at this point where he's not really a main scorer or main distributor at this point. He's just kind of on the court at this point.
Yeah.
And I believe he scored 17 or 18 points in this game, but he was doing things to kind of actually will the team to do forward. I saw plays of him diving on the floor, making good assists, and just overall playing good basketball. That's his role right now on the Lakers. But the main thing is you have the two scorers now, Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, who both scored 30 points. Luka had another 30-point triple-double in this game. And on the Nuggets side, we have Jokic keep doing Jokic things with another 30-point triple-double like nothing. But Jamal Murray, who I always talked about, he is the most inconsistent player there is in the NBA, ever probably, because when he's on, but when he's off, he is so off. And that's exactly what happened in this game. He shot 1 for 14 in this game, and he fouled out. So I don't know what the hell Jamal Murray was doing in this game, and he just did not look good at all in this game. And that is a big reason why this game was even close. Jamal Murray was scoring and making buckets. This game wouldn't have been as close as you think.
Yeah, they had a chance. Like, if Jamal Murray drops his usual 15, 20 points, it's a lot easier for the Nuggets to win this game. And obviously the Lakers, they don't have the great defensive presence that the Nuggets have. So if Jamal Murray played a lot better than he did, I don't see a reason for them to not win this game.
Plus, you had Aaron Gordon in this game as well, coming back and looking much better. And what actually happened towards the end of this game is miraculously the Lakers somehow came back because the Lakers were down like 6 points with less than a minute to go. But what led to is Austin Reeves got to the free throw line, made the first free throw, missed the second one intentionally, got his own rebound, and scored, and pretty much tied the game to send it to overtime. Right then and there, it showed you, okay, there's a lot of fortunes going the Lakers' way in this game. And in overtime, it was not good basketball at all. Nobody really scored. Nobody was really doing anything. You only had 2 big shots, and the 2 big shots was Aaron Gordon hit a step-back three-pointer, which put the Nuggets, I think it tied the Nuggets up, and then Luka Doncic got the ball at the end. He did a kind of a push-off, and he got his step-back fader and scored the last bucket for the game winner against the Denver Nuggets. And this is one of Luka's more recent game winners, but it happened in fashion where the ball is going to go to Luka Doncic at the end of this game, and that's where it should go anyway.
Yeah.
But the Nuggets, they could have won this game if Jamal Murray actually showed up, but obviously Jokic did as much as he could do. But this is a good win for the Lakers. They're actually sitting in the 3rd seed right now. I don't know how much they can hold that onto. If they can hold that, that is very, really good for them going into the playoffs. They will have home court on the first round, obviously. So that would be very, very good for them.
And I believe they would face the Houston Rockets, and
which is beatable,
yeah,
in my opinion.
I think so
especially
too.
with the
I think the Rockets are overrated, like compared to other teams in the Western Conference for sure.
Yeah, but those are my two favorite games this week.
Yeah, so the first game I want to talk about on my list is the Cavs versus the Magic. The Magic, they won this game 128 to 122. The Magic have been playing a lot better, and obviously earlier on in the season they were really struggling. They had a lot of injuries. Franz Wagner is probably going to be out for the rest of the season. I don't know what's up with his ankle, but in this game in particular, we had a big game from Desmond Bane, who dropped 35. Paolo had 25, 8, and 7. And the Magic right now, I believe they're in the 5th seed, and they would be facing the Cleveland Cavaliers. So this is a potential, obviously, they played a couple of years ago, but this would be the 4-5 matchup as it currently stands in the Eastern Conference. It's a pretty good matchup. But on the Cleveland Cavaliers side, the Cavs actually have been on a slump as of late. Like, they lost to Boston, they lost a game before that, and then I believe they lost 3 straight up until this point.
Yeah.
And much of it has to do with the injuries. Like, they don't have Jared Allen. Dean Wade's been inconsistent. Sam Merrill's been out. So if the Cavs could get healthy, I don't see why they can't make a run at the title, because the Eastern Conference is not as strong as the West, and they have a lot of teams right now in the East. They all have some question marks as to like who's going to really stand out.
Yeah.
But the Cavs, if they can get fully healthy, they could definitely be a title contender. Speaking of title contenders, the next matchup I want to talk about is the Celtics versus the Thunder. The Thunder, they won this game 104 to 102. Yes, I'm talking about a Celtic loss here, but we had signature MVP performances from both Jaylen Brown and SGA. They each went for 30 plus.
Yeah.
I believe they both had a double-double, but on key sides from both teams is they didn't have all their fully loaded lineups. Like the Thunder, they didn't have Lou Dort, they didn't have Isaiah Hartenstein. The Celtics didn't have Tatum, they didn't have Derek White, and Vucevic is probably going to be out till at least the start of the playoffs. But the 2 superstars for each team, they both carried the load. Peyton Pritchard, he finally came back. He played pretty well. And this is a great defensive battle from both teams. Like,
good defense from both sides.
These are, like, in my opinion, these are the 2 favorites to meet in the finals. And at this point, I don't see why it couldn't. But the Thunder, on the other hand, obviously the controversy with them is always going to be the foul baiting. I've seen a lot of people talk about they're taking advantage of making the necessary moves to get the fouls. And don't get me wrong, you're going to get fouled in the NBA.
Yeah.
Especially in today's game, it's pretty evident that when you get to the free throw line, you'll definitely win more games. And at the end of the game, it was tied 102 to 104. It was tied 102 to 102. And I believe, I want to say SGA shot the ball, but it missed. And I believe Chet Holmgren got fouled by Peyton Pritchard. And this just basically led to the 2 free throws that made the Thunder go ahead. And the Celtics, they couldn't capitalize at the end. They only had like 0.8 seconds left.
Right.
But as of right now, the Celtics, they're the 2nd seed in the East. They're fighting for the first. The Thunder, they're pretty much solidified for the first seed. So this is a possible NBA Finals matchup. Obviously, we wanted it to happen last year. It didn't. But this year, I can see it definitely happening. Obviously, no Tatum and no Jalen Williams on the other side. But once they're fully healthy, I could see this being like a possible 7-game season if obviously both teams get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, if they both are healthy and get to the finals, because they match up pretty well. Because I guess the Thunder alone, they have a lot of big guard play as well, because they have a lot of backup guards that can play really well, and so does the Celtics.
Yeah,
so the matchups are really well in this.
What is beneficial for both teams is that they're both deep in terms of who they have on the bench.
Yeah.
The pace of play that they do play in, and how they can rotate the players every now and then. And if you don't have a good bench and good depth on the team, you can't really make a run at the title. Obviously, the first couple of rounds, you're not going to see the 8th, 9th starters, the bench players come out. You know what I mean? So, but the fact that both teams, they will utilize that, it keeps people fresh, and it makes them stronger title contenders.
Yeah, I think those 2 teams are looking really good on both sides. So let's see how it plays out. The NBA season, I think, is less than 15 games left.
Yeah.
So it's heating up. Playoffs and seedings are going to get pretty much set out in the last. Usually this always happens last week of the NBA.
Yeah,
where we find out all the seedings.
Yeah, you'll know pretty much the beginning of April who's locked into which seed. And there's obviously going to be that moment where a team will get hot and make a run at possibly the play-in. Obviously, between the 7th and the 10th seed. Obviously, we've seen that with the Charlotte Hornets. And on the West side, it's a gauntlet. Really.
Yeah.
That's fair to say. Like so many good teams in the West. So
Yeah, because like honestly, the West teams, you're looking at them like there's so many ones. Depending on matchups, anyone can even get past each other. Like depending on who they play, because who knows, the Lakers might get very easily matchups, and they could even make it to the conference finals. Like
exactly.
It's all over the place on the West side, but the East side is more to be shaken out as the playoffs continue to start soon, and as the NBA regular season continues to end. But that sums up our NBA recap for this week. All right, guys, and now around sports world, we have a few little notes we want to talk about. First up is the NFL. We had a lot of things pretty much play out last week, especially when free agency, everything just opened up when the NFL season just started, right? So let's get into a few of them.
Yeah, so Max Crosby, we thought he was going to become a Baltimore Raven, but it turns out that I guess the doctors, he didn't pass his physical. And they basically sent him back to Las Vegas, and now he's still a Raider. And when
he's obviously going to get shopped.
Yeah.
So we'll see where he ends up.
And when you lose out on one premier pass rusher, the Ravens went ahead and they signed another premier pass rusher in Trey Hendrickson. He's younger, obviously, and he got a 4-year deal.
Honestly, that's the better move, in my opinion. I think the Ravens did the better move.
Somebody's got to check on the Cincinnati Bengals, because it's like, they got Max Crosby, but then they got their boy in Trey Hendrickson, and obviously Joe Burrow, he's probably somewhere looking like, why does this keep happening to me? But overall, it's a great move for the Ravens, and they didn't really have a pass rush last year. So adding this premier pass rusher, it'll elevate the defense.
Yeah.
And then second, I'm surprised by this because it's a good thing that this happened, in my opinion.
Okay.
The Raiders, they traded Geno Smith back to the Jets. So it came full circle. Jets drafted Geno Smith in 2013. They moved on from him. I believe they went through at least, I don't know, God knows how many quarterbacks in the last 10 years.
Close to 10.
Maybe I'm not going to list them, but it was a lot of freaking quarterbacks. And now it comes back to Geno Smith.
Veteran used and everything.
Yeah, like this is probably going to be the best team he's played on based on the talent that we have on the offense.
Yeah.
And the Jets, they've actually had a pretty good free agency period. They signed a lot of good defensive veterans.
Yeah.
They signed a lot of one-year contracts because next year they'll have the most cap space of all time, from what I've heard. And adding Geno Smith back, I've seen people say, he helped deliver Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. He helped the Raiders get Fernando Mendoza, and people are saying, he's going to help the Jets get Arch Manning. But I've heard rumors that the Mannings don't want Arch to come to the Jets.
I believe it. I believe it.
Which is fine, but I think Geno Smith, he has a lot to prove still. He's on the older side, but we did need a quarterback. And if this is our bridge quarterback, I don't see why.
It's crazy because his story is obviously he played really well in Seattle.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why the Raiders took him, because they saw his play there. They were like, okay, this is Geno Smith. All right, we'll invest.
But the talent between the Raiders and the Seahawks was not close. You know what I mean?
Right, but it did not help with his quarterback play at all, because he did not look good at all anyway.
But now you'll have Garrett Wilson. They have some good offensive weapons. Breece Hall is going to be back.
If he's not traded.
And they have a good offensive line. So if you give him that opportunity, just not turn the damn ball over, get some points, then I don't see why we're not going to be good. Yeah. But we're going to be better than what people are saying.
You would think so.
You would think so, exactly.
Right. Next up, let's talk about the New England Patriots, obviously the reigning AFC champions. We had an interesting, I guess we didn't really do anything big in this year's offseason yet, but that's because obviously we're coming back from our Super Bowl championship team, where we brought back most of our players because we signed a lot of those players last year to big contracts. But this year we decided to finally get another wide receiver in Romeo Doubs. So let's see how Romeo Doubs does on this team. Obviously on the Packers, he's been very iffy. He's been really good sometimes. He's been really bad sometimes. So I think with Drake May pretty much having another weapon to him, it doesn't hurt anybody. We have Romeo Doubs now on the outside because obviously Stephon Diggs is no longer with the Patriots, and then we moved on from him after 1 year. And we also signed Elijah Vera Tucker on our left side. I think he's going to be playing on the left side or right side.
He's a right
side. Okay, because I think we lost our tackle too. I think somebody signed him.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think it was the Bears maybe. But somebody signed one of our offensive linemen. And Vera Tucker, let's see how he does. Obviously on the Jets team.
He was a little injury prone.
Exactly. The Jets.
But when he's healthy, he's a good guard.
That's what I think so too. Because he always would talk about how he just needs to be healthy, he needs to be solid. And the Jets moved on from him because like he's just not available.
Every 3 out of the last 4 years, he was out for the season, and it sucks because he's a great player, and he's just not given that opportunity because of the injuries.
So let's see. The Patriots decided we're going to take a chance on him. Probably did a physical and obviously all that stuff on him to make sure he's okay to go. So let's see how that plays out. And the other thing is we had a bunch of quarterbacks going different places. Tua is no longer a Dolphin. He's an Atlanta Falcon.
I don't know, man. The Falcons, they love their lefty quarterback. They had Michael Penix, they had Michael Vick. Now they have Tua Tagovailoa.
I don't think it makes any difference. He's gonna probably be the backup to.
They have Penix, They have 2 quarterbacks on the Falcons. Like obviously Kirk Cousins, he's technically a free agent, and they made a killing in terms of their money, and they're all like super mid quarterbacks now. You know.
I don't even think Tua's gonna play. I think Michael Penix is probably gonna get the start anyway. Next up, with with Tua gone from Miami, it led to Miami freeing up and probably getting the best free agent quarterback this year in Malik Willis.
And this was a good move because
I think so too. Yeah.
The Dolphins, they hired the Packers DC, and he was on the Packers, so it kind of just made sense for them to do it. And I'm sure people definitely saw that coming because when they released Tua, they obviously needed a quarterback. Yeah. They're not going to be drafting high. Yeah. Malik Willis, they just threw him a bunch of money, and they have a good offensive presence right now. Yeah. Obviously, they got rid of Tyreek Hill, so let's see how Malik Willis does. When he's played well. So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm very curious to see how this new Dolphins regime looks with Malik Willis and new head coaching. Let's see how it goes. I don't know. Miami could be good. We could find out if they could be a surprising team this year. Next up, we had Kenneth Walker, obviously Super Bowl MVP. He didn't get probably the money and contract that he wanted from Seattle because Seattle's been very weird this offseason.
They haven't really made any moves in Seattle. Yeah. Obviously, they're waiting for new ownership, and they do have a lot of money. Like they did re-sign Rashid Shaheed, but they lost out on Kenneth Walker, and I don't know what they're going to be doing. And they might have like an ultimate Super Bowl hangover next season.
So let's see how it goes. Kenneth Walker is a Chief now, so he's going to be running the ball a lot more. You don't have Pacheco anymore. He's pretty much
on the Lions now.
Yeah, so it leads to Pacheco being a second down running back because I think that's what he is. He's basically a second running back. I don't think he's a top tier running back. But now you get Kenneth Walker with the Chiefs, and you know that the Chiefs are probably going to rely on him a lot, especially with Patrick Mahomes not being there for a while. So Kenneth Walker's going to get his ball. He's going to get his spots. And let's see how he does with the new team. And then lastly, the big other piece is Mike Evans. Mike Evans is no longer a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, which is, I didn't think that was going to happen. No. I thought he was going to stay. But I guess he wanted to go chase a ring.
Yeah, good for him. He got signed by the San Francisco 49ers, and the 49ers didn't have Brandon Ayuk all last season, and they needed another weapon. Jawan Jennings is a free agent.
He's still a free agent, yeah.
And adding Mike Evans, obviously people are going to question his availability. And I know people were talking about that substation that's next to their training facility, and people are going to say, like, oh, his hamstrings are going to fall off his body. But if he can stay healthy, man, the Brock Purdy will get him the ball.
That's the thing, but the Niners have been cursed on injuries every year.
Every year, yeah.
And let's see how it goes. Kittle's not there.
Yeah, and they lost Robert Saleh, so the defense is not going to be as good.
Right. So let's see how it goes. CMC is always kind of injured sometimes. So I don't know. The Niners, if they can stay healthy, they're obviously a good team.
Yeah, they're probably the best right now in the NFC. If everybody's healthy on both sides of the ball, they're probably number 1, number 2 at best to win this conference in the NFC.
I think so too. So let's see how the Niners do with this. That kind of sums up most of the NFL big things that happen. Obviously, we'll talk about a lot more if any other big items happen. But let's get straight into the World Baseball Classic, which is going pretty heads on, and now we're at the semifinals, right?
Yeah. So last night, Venezuela is a great team. They have Ronald Acuna, they have Willie Abreu, they have a lot of other players, and they're a fun team to watch. And I wouldn't call it an upset per se, but Japan, they were probably the second most favorite to win.
I just think, like, honestly, Venezuela, I agree with you. I wouldn't say it's an upset. I just think Japan didn't play well.
No. Like, Shohei, he had a leadoff bomb, and people are saying, oh, Japan's going to take it. But Japan's pitching is suspect, in my opinion. Yeah. I believe they had Yu Darvish pitching, and Yu Darvish is not as good as he once was.
Yeah.
We saw Ronald Acuna go deep. Willie Abreu, he had a 3-run home run to basically take the lead in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
And Venezuela, they ended up picking up the victory, and they're going into semifinals against a surprising
Italy
team. They're being
What
led
is
by,
going on with Italy?
They're being led by Jack Caglione, a couple of other players.
I don't know anybody on that team, honestly.
I just can't, I don't remember the exact, I know Jack Caglione is on the team, and there's a couple of other players I just don't remember.
But that's the thing. Like, they have no stars. There's
That's
no
true.
stars on the Italy
But if you
team.
think about it, like outside of Shohei Ohtani, a lot of people don't really know the people on the Japanese team. Like, yeah, obviously I know
Right.
Murakami, Yoshida, all of these guys.
But like, nobody expected Italy to do this with no star player.
And now it sets up a great matchup for them, for Venezuela and Italy. Now switching gears to our home country team, the U.S., this is probably going to be the greatest matchup of all time. It's going to be insane. So what we're talking about is the United States versus the Dominican Republic. We have Paul Skeens going up against arguably the greatest lineup the Dominican Republic has to offer of all time. And it's all going to rely on Mr. Air Force Academy, Mr. Patriot himself, Paul Skeens. And I think that if the USA can capitalize on Dominican Republic's pitching, because they're not as strong as the U.S. side.
Who's pitching for them tonight?
Luis Severino.
Severino? Okay.
Yeah, and we know Aaron Judge has history against Severino. He always does really well against them. But the surprise on the DR side is somebody that's he's Dominican by default, which is Austin Wells. And he's been playing really well. I don't know, like he's got some like bachata going on in that dugout.
You know what it is? It's the energy.
Of course, yeah. When you have players that elevate your mood, it just makes the overall feeling. You just want to go out and compete, and that's exactly what we've been seeing from the Dominican Republic team. And tonight we're gonna see how it goes. Paul Skeens on the mound.
Let's get predictions. Who you got winning to these two? Who do you think is meeting in the finals?
If Paul Skeens can deliver 5 innings
of good
pitching, he'll probably give up some hits and stuff like that.
You have to with that talent.
I doubt he's gonna get through it scoreless. If he can stay max 2 runs or below, if the U.S. can get production from everybody else, I don't see why the U.S. can't win this.
Right.
Because, like I said, the U.S. has just better pitching overall, even on the bullpen side. You know what I'm saying? So, obviously, we're going to have to rely on Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., Cal Raleigh. Those are the 3 main culprits, and those are probably the in top 10 in baseball when they play. So I'm gonna roll with the U.S. and I think Venezuela they're gonna beat Italy, and I think it's gonna set up a U.S. versus Venezuela finals.
So I'm gonna also roll with U.S. I think the U.S. wins because I just think the Dominican team they're gonna be running high.
And if that happens, then you're gonna have Tarek Skubal in the finals.
Right. So that's the way I think it might be playing out is where U.S. I think Judge is gonna have a good game. I think these guys are gonna show up. I feel like U.S. usually does try to show up against big stages like this. So I think they're gonna get back to the finals. And I think U.S. beats the DR. On the other side, I'm going to roll with Italy. I think Italy is
Cinderella story?
The Cinderella. I don't understand it. I guarantee you nobody understands it, why Italy's making it this far. And I think Italy gets to the finals. And obviously it's going to be, based on my predictions, USA versus Italy. And I think USA smacks them at that point. But I think it's going to be a crazy matchup to see Italy actually beating Venezuela and getting to the finals. Nobody would have pictured that, especially when the World Baseball Classic started. Right. But at that point, let's see how it goes. We're going to obviously have these 2 games playing out tonight, right?
Yeah, and this is basically the final. The final, I believe, is on Tuesday. And after Tuesday, the MLB season starts the week after. So there's a lot to look forward to. There's obviously, people are going to talk about the Dodgers with their star-studded lineup and stuff like that. They're probably going to go back-to-back, a three-peat. We haven't seen that since the Yankees. And there's a lot of great matchups going to be happening this year. A lot of people, the AL, they're not as strong as the other. I feel like in sports that there's like this distinguishing factor between two conferences where one conference is stronger than the other. And in baseball, the NL is much stronger than the AL. Football, NFC is much stronger than the AFC. Well, actually, no. The AFC is much stronger. And then in basketball, the West is stronger than the East. But baseball's starting up, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, but that kind of wraps up everything that we want to talk about sports-wise. But we're going to continue to talk about whatever other big items and big tickets that come up as the weeks progress. But that wraps up our sports recap for this week. All right, guys. Now it's time for our sideline heel take for this week. And I'll go first because mine is sports-related. So we've been obviously seeing the NBA season play out, and there's been a lot of players have been showing out really well. And I want to talk about two specific players that have been playing pretty good this season, but now they're in their older stages in their career at this point. And specifically, I want to talk about is Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi Leonard is obviously a more polarizing figure based on what he's been doing in the last few years, based on his career. And obviously, you can tell like a lot of players probably don't like what he does. A lot of management himself probably don't like it. A lot of analysts, media, in general, Kawhi Leonard's been getting a bad look probably in the last few years. But when he plays, he is absolutely one of the best players in the NBA, no question in my opinion. I think he's a top 5 player when he's playing healthy. And we see it every single time he steps on the court. Prime example, he was playing amazing basketball this entire season. Based on numbers-wise, this might be his greatest season ever, technically.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say because he's been on the Clippers for a while now. People expected him to play like this when he first joined the Clippers, right? And obviously, when he came to LA, he said he's going to be coming after LeBron James and taking over the crown of LA. That was the whole storyline of bringing Kawhi Leonard to LA. And that didn't play because obviously injuries played a factor, or him just maybe not even wanting to play played a factor. And a lot of speculation has been happening about that all the time. In terms of Kevin Durant's been all over the place in the NBA. He's been a bunch of teams. I never thought that Kevin Durant would be a journeyman. Never when I saw him in OKC, I never thought he'd be a journeyman.
No.
That's kind of what he is at this point. He's a ring chaser, and you kind of see it. And let's talk about where Kawhi Leonard as a player versus Kevin Durant as a player. Now, people obviously believe that Kevin Durant is one of the best scorers of all time based on the way he can score, based on numbers as well, right? But Kawhi Leonard is way more of an efficient player in my opinion. And you see it. When he scores, all of his numbers, he barely misses in any games. His field goal percentage is absolutely one of the best in the NBA. He's a 50-40-90 club most likely this year. And he's at 34 years old doing this now when people expected him to do this years ago. It's crazy to see that. Obviously, when he won a championship in Toronto, they thought that he was going to take that high and keep rolling with it and keep going with it. But it dropped for injury reasons or whatever it may be. But Kawhi Leonard looks like he's back to that form again and maybe even better than that. So I'm excited to see what it plays out. But my sideline heel take is I think Kawhi Leonard is a better and more legendary player, in my opinion, than Kevin Durant. And the reason is, I'll give you a few of them. Obviously, better defender, in my opinion. Kevin Durant is a really good defender. Like, nobody really talks about that point as well because he is 7 foot and he blocks shots. He plays good defense. But Kawhi Leonard, everybody talks about the claw for a reason. He's a two-time defensive champion, right? And the thing is, he's on. I think every year he's always on some type of all NBA type defense, right? Whether it's first team or second team, he makes it. Even if he barely plays, he still makes them because you know that he's one of the best defensive players in the league when he plays. Let's talk about the career where a lot of people have a lot of doubts about Kevin Durant is where he joined the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry with a massive team to win 2 championships, right? The whole story is with Kevin Durant now, he's trying to build a legacy where he can win a championship without that. It's so crazy because like now he joined that team just to get his rings, and now he's trying to join other teams so he can erase what happened with Golden State. Because people fear like, okay, Kevin Durant is a great player, but like he joined a super team. And it's funny, he keeps going to teams where he's trying to make it his own team and trying to get rid of that narrative. And that's what keeps happening. But guess what? With Kawhi Leonard, he's a 2-time champion, 2-time Finals MVP, one with the San Antonio Spurs, obviously, with the Tim Duncan and Tony Parker team, where he just won it for playing his defense on LeBron James. Solely, that was the award given. Then he went to Toronto. Obviously, he got traded away from San Antonio because he just didn't want to be there anymore. It was too toxic. He went in Toronto for 1 year. Nobody thought Toronto was going to do anything. Toronto ended up winning the championship that year. A lot of factors played into it, why they won. But it happened. And Kawhi Leonard was obviously the main reason why he won that championship. So it makes me think like, okay, Kawhi Leonard, he won a championship. He was a more solely focused player. And that kind of proves that, in my opinion, on offense, a team ran better and through one player. Other than Kevin Durant, who you know Kevin Durant was the man on that team, but you know it wasn't his team. It was Steph Curry's team all the way. Next up, I think, is probably the thing where Kevin Durant has against Kawhi Leonard is obviously longevity and health-wise, because I think Kevin Durant's been a lot more healthier in his career-wise versus
Yeah,
Kevin
he only
Durant.
had that one injury with the Achilles.
But that took him out a while
2019.
too.
Yeah.
It took him out a while. But overall, when I look at the eye test versus Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard is just automatic. He's a robot, and that's what people keep calling him, a robot. He scores better, he plays better, and I just like watching Kawhi Leonard way better than watching Kevin Durant play at this point in my career. And it's crazy to say, if Kawhi Leonard continued to have that run and did not get injured, or maybe he just didn't play, mental health issues, whatever it is, if he was actually just healthy and never really got injured, I think he would have won at least one MVP by now at this point in his career. Because everybody thought it, especially at the end of before he got hurt on San Antonio. He could have went to the finals that year when it was just his team.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for freaking
Zaza
Pachulia landing on his damn ankle.
Yeah.
I think he would have carried that team into the finals. And I think that was obviously the downfall where it started with the injury right then and there. But if Kawhi Leonard never got injured and stayed healthy, I think he would have been a way greater player and legendary player in my opinion. That's why overall to me, I'm picking Kawhi Leonard over Kevin Durant as a top 5 small forward. And I think based on analytics right there, I think Kawhi Leonard would be a number 3 small forward of all time for me right then and there.
Who would be your first two?
LeBron James and Larry Bird.
Oh, okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I think the narrative around Kevin Durant is he's always needed somebody to win something.
Yeah.
Like when he, obviously in OKC, they made the final once, and when they were a super young team against that Miami team, and they lost. And they didn't make the final since. Obviously, we saw the rise of Steph Curry, that Warriors dynasty from like the mid-2010s, and that basically overshadowed Kevin Durant's Thunder. As a result, if you can't beat him, join him. That's what Kevin Durant exactly did. When he went to Brooklyn, we thought that they were gonna. That team was loaded. That Brooklyn team in the early 2020s.
But nobody played.
That's true. That's the problem with the Nets. And Kevin Durant did play. He was the only one that played.
Yeah.
And when he played, bro, that team was like very, very like. And they were literally 1 foot away from making the Eastern Conference Finals, and they would have beat the brakes off the Hawks, and they would have went to the final. I think they would have won the finals had they gone, because Kyrie Irving was playing really well. James Harden was, obviously, whatever happened with James Harden, but the whole Nets team, if his foot was 1 inch smaller, they probably would have. I think they would have won the finals this year. Then he went to Phoenix, and
that just didn't work out.
It just didn't work out. Like, they got Bradley Beal. Obviously, Phoenix is always going to be Devin Booker's team.
Yeah.
And that whole drama is nonsense. It just didn't play. Now he's in Houston. Houston, they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to get out the first round anyways.
Yeah.
And that narrative is going to surround Kevin Durant, where he's going to want to keep going to out places when he feels unhappy because he wants to ring chase, which is fine. You want to get your ring. At the end of the day, he already has 2. But the 2 that he has, he joined the team that was already destined to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When it comes to Kawhi Leonard, I think the narrative around Kawhi Leonard is more ifs, and that's sports in general. There's always going to be ifs. Had he not gotten hurt against the Warriors in 2016, right? I think they would have went to the finals against the Cavs as well, because they were up 3-2, and he got hurt. That was the end of it. The Warriors, they ended up winning in 7.
Yeah.
He went to Toronto. He was only there for a year, and he didn't want to be there. And he was there for however long. He had that crazy Game 7 game winner against the Sixers, and that pushed him to the Eastern Conference Finals. And they ended up picking up the victory. Obviously, like you said, there were some causalities to the Warriors. Kevin Durant, torn Achilles.
Klay Thompson was out.
Klay Thompson was out. And the Warriors, they just wasn't healthy. And I feel like if the Warriors were healthy at that time, they definitely would have been.
Yeah,
they could have won.
Kevin Durant would have three-peated.
Yeah, exactly. And then he went to Clippers. The problem with the Clippers, in my opinion, I know you've mentioned this, the Clippers, they were a team full of old coops.
Yeah. But this was like even early on when Kawhi Leonard joined with Paul George, it didn't pan out because Paul George didn't play well.
I think what the Clippers failed to do was keep SGA. They traded SGA for Paul George.
But that's because they didn't know what SGA could
right.
become. Nobody did.
Nobody did. That's true. Now, in terms of an all-time perspective, I think Kawhi Leonard is the better overall player.
Yeah.
He has the defense. He has the offense. Kevin Durant, I think he's just a little bit more of a lethal scorer because of the mechanics that he has, how he plays, his mindset towards the game.
For sure.
I think Kevin Durant is more committed to the game than Kawhi Leonard will ever be.
Yeah.
And because of that, I personally would not put Kawhi Leonard ahead of Kevin Durant, but he's like pretty much neck and neck with him all time. LeBron, Larry, number 2, 1 and 2 for sure.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the rings, Kawhi Leonard's rings are more valuable than Kevin Durant's, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too.
And Kevin Durant does have an MVP, so I would still put Kevin Durant just ahead of Kawhi Leonard.
And I get that's fair, right? Obviously, I'm not saying that's like it's like unproven fact right now, but Kawhi Leonard keeps playing like this at 34 years old.
That's true, yeah.
At 28 points per game and just keeps getting better. It kind of gives the Clippers another idea of like, okay, maybe we need to surround Kawhi with more people because he actually does give a shit.
And
He's
they traded a lot of players, and it's just pretty much Kawhi Leonard and everybody else, and they don't really have. I don't even know. Like if Nick Batum's on the team, they traded Ivica Zubac, so
one thing I would like to see them do is because if they really are serious about getting the best out of Kawhi Leonard in the last few years of his contract, get him some help and trade up in that NBA draft to get him a top tier player to draft with. I would be very interested because I don't remember Kawhi Leonard ever really playing with like a major rookie. It would be interesting to see Kawhi Leonard being the veteran leader on a team.
He could play with Ricky Pascal.
Right, but like I mean like a new player where Kawhi Leonard is the veteran. He's obviously the lead and he has to get somebody under his wing. That'd be interesting to see. I want to see how Kawhi Leonard is able to mentor somebody. And you get him with a top tier player with a lot of people in this NBA draft this year. I want to see what he can do with it.
When you're in a big market like Los Angeles, which is perhaps the biggest market, you're going to need the key players. And I feel like, I don't know who the free agent class is this year, but if they can they traded away James Harden, they're going to need a point guard. They traded away Ivica Zubac, they're going to need a center. If they could get those pieces. It
kind of worked out for them because those two other pieces that they got, Darius Garland and Ben Mathurin, they've been playing really good.
Well, yeah, that's true too. So I don't see why they can't make some noise. I believe they're in the play-in right now.
Yeah.
But I think they could come out the play-in, and whoever they play, like they could give San Antonio a run for their money and revenge series against San Antonio. You know what I'm saying? Now, for my sideline heel take, I'm going to be transitioning away from sports and wrestling, and I want to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. If you know me, I've always been infatuated with the concept of spiders. I pride myself into the nickname of Spidey, Spider, whatever you want to say it. I love animals in general, but in my opinion, I think spiders, they're the most misunderstood animals, creatures, whatever you want to say, on the planet. People obviously talk about arachnophobia.
Yeah.
They just don't like spiders. But let's be real here. Unless if you're going to purposely aggravate something like a black widow, a Brazilian wandering spider, a Sydney funnel web, spiders aren't really like known to be hostile towards human unless provoked.
Right.
Obviously, people are going to say they just look creepy, and that's where the fear lies in. Like, obviously, you see a massive hairy-looking thing with 8 legs. Yeah. I get it. Would I freak out? I wouldn't, compared to other people. But you have, like, people want to say, oh, we don't want to visit a certain country because of their spiders, and that's exactly the case in the point with Australia. Like, there's rumors about how Australia, it rains spiders, and there's like little small cities out in the deserts that's covered with webs. I get that, but in reality, spiders, they're actually also good for the environment. Like, they get rid of pests for you, like mosquitoes, roaches, rats, and if they're around, they're like Orton in pest control. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I like about spiders is, if you see a spider, you weren't meant to see a spider, which is kind of crazy because spiders are smart enough to hide, and if you see them, you basically got lucky at that point. But when it comes to going to these places that have them, as long as you don't provoke the spiders, they're pretty much harmless. I've seen videos of people looking at big huntsman spiders in Australia.
They're massive.
They're massive, but I've heard people say that they're sweet and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I get it. If you don't provoke them, just let them chill. If you want to get them out, that's one thing. And what's also kind of crazy, I'm not the most religious person. Obviously, we believe in Islam and stuff like that. But in Islamic culture, spiders are actually viewed in a good way. Like, I'm sure, like, from what I've read, spiders help trick, like, intruders from going into mosques with webs and stuff like that. Like they covered up the entrances to the mosques, and they basically led the intruders away from preventing them to come into the mosque.
Right.
But I think that spiders, like, if you're gonna be scared of them, fine, but don't let that consume you from the fact that they're not really hostile towards you. They're not gonna be aggressive towards you. So if you like, I'm not gonna tell a person that they shouldn't feel scared of what they, you know. But at the end of the day, I just feel like they're misunderstood, and people should really give them a chance.
Yeah, for me, like with spiders is obviously like it's just what it is. What it is. It's an animal that's just there. If it's there, and if it's a little one, I'm gonna kill it. Like I'm gonna get rid of it. Like I don't want it near me. It is what it is. And especially like if I know there's spiders in the vicinity, obviously, yeah, I'm not gonna be like freaking out where I need to get out of there. But like if I don't need to be there, I'm not gonna be there.
Yeah.
If the spider's there.
Like I've seen those videos of people like in their cars, they just have like in the little side or on the door handle and stuff like that. I get it. I would freak out too, but like not to a point where I would run for my life. You know what I'm saying?
But that's cool. Like I don't know, spiders. I never really seen one like up close in person, like a real
like
one.
a big one.
Like a big one. I've seen obviously little spiders everywhere, but like.
And also, I forgot to mention that most spider venoms, they're not dangerous.
Right.
Like obviously the Sydney funnel web, the Brazilian wandering spider, you touch them and they sting you, you're gonna need medical attention ASAP.
Yeah.
But when something less venomous and it hits you, you'll be fine after like an hour or two. But every other, like those spiders, I get it, but you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just misunderstood.
Right.
I feel like people should give them more chances.
All right. And guys, that kind of wraps up this week's episode. So obviously we're going to be talking about going into wrestling and Mania season as well. And sports is pretty much a lot of things are happening in the off season as well, with MLB starting up very soon, with NBA continuing. And then we're getting very close to obviously World Cup season as well. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about going forward as wrestling progresses and sports progresses throughout the coming weeks. But thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.